Hi everyone, this is another Notion video. Today I'm gonna walk you through one of my oldest dashboards like ever. I think I've created this when I start using Notion, but I've just recently give it an update, added a bunch of widgets, and hopefully this can inspire you create your own, or if you want this same exact dashboard, so stick to the end of the video. I'll tell you how to get it. Alright, so this is my homepage, and this is here is not a picture, but it's a word clock widget. It updates throughout the day, so I'm in Canada right now, and it's around 2 o'clock. And for my family in Egypt, you can see it shows around 11 p.m. because, time difference. Anyway, below is all the tables or databases that this dashboard consists of, and of course I'll go through them later. On the right hand side is a filtered view that shows any upcoming trips. I also have a quick access to both Canada and Calgary, where I live right now, because I use this template for both domestic and international trips. So of course you can just filter out your home country and city here. Now in the middle is one of my all-time favorite widgets, which is a word map. So you can zoom in and zoom out, and when you click a country, you see its name here. Now all of the widgets in this template I didn't create myself, but I did edit most of them to change the color to fit within the theme of the widget. So there's also a view of the countries that's in my bucket list, and if I scroll down, you see my favorite part of the template, which makes it really like a travel app and not just another Notion dashboard. So the stats you see here is actually automatically calculated based just on the trips I added to the template. I don't update the numbers myself, or I don't even check a box to say I visited this country. I don't do that. Instead, whenever I add a trip to a certain city, the country where this city is located just gets included. And if, let's say, I added a trip in the future, that won't count. It won't count until actually its state became in the past. So this dashboard has around 14 databases, I'm not sure. Anyway, I know it sounds like a lot, but actually you rarely interact with them directly. And you'll see that when I go to the trips table where all the magic happens, and that's what kind of holds everything together. So the first database is the countries database. I've actually included 194 sovereign states, but I've also added around 30 dependencies. These are places like Puerto Rico and Bermuda. Each country has its flag as an icon and a cover image. I've also added all the official currencies, the languages, the capital city, so all of that just taken care of. I've also created a template that contains filtered views that show up everything related to that country. And I've already applied that template to every single page in this database, so you don't have to worry about anything. So let me show you if I open up Turkey, for example, because I've already visited it twice, so it's pretty filled up with data. So you see a summary about the country with its location on the globe. I've already uploaded these to all the countries, downloaded them from Wikipedia, so yeah, thank me later. You see a summary of my trips. You also see all the cities that I've added, and we'll go through the cities database in a moment. You also have all the articles and vlogs that I've collected while planning my trips to Turkey. More on that later too. You see all the attractions in Turkey grouped by city, and you see also the mobile app that you might need in Turkey. And if I go back and show you Egypt, for example, you see how everything is changed. And if I open a country that I've never visited, like Austria, you see that except for the summary and the capital city, all other views are empty, and these will automatically update whenever you take a trip there. You can also use the menu to see countries in a specific continent, and you can even see by sub-region in that continent, because I've added that to the countries too. Oh, and before I forget, if you're from the States, I found this like cool widgets that showed distances between airports. I just could not include, so yeah. So the second database is the world database, and this is what I showed you earlier in the homepage. This is how I get all the stats, and the way this works is I have only 7 records in this space. 1 for the whole world, and the 6 other is 1 for each continent. The trick here is I've linked this database to each country in the world. Each country is linked to the world record and the continent where it belongs to. That's how I was able to eventually roll up the data from all the countries and, link them with the continent. So in this database, I included all the world's capital cities, but I also added some other famous cities, so it includes in total 365 cities. I also have here this super fun widget with pictures from all around the world. And by the way, let me know if you'd be interested in a tutorial. I could teach you how to personalize this widget so you can add your own pictures instead. So like countries, I have created a template that pulls up relevant data about a specific city when you open its page. I didn't, however, apply it to all the cities, so let me show you how you do it. If I open up Cairo, for example, all I have to do is just click on the template, and you see here it displays Egypt because that's where Cairo is located, of course. And you can also embed a map of the city like Google Maps, and you can see like my trip to Cairo, where I stayed, and places to visit there. This is a super simple table that contains all the hotels, rentals, Airbnbs, any place I stayed at. And the thing is, in this table, I only record like the hotel data, and I don't record anything about a specific reservation. And I'll tell you why in a second when I go to the reservations table. I also have here like a basic template for each hotel where I usually fill up after like staying at that hotel, where I add things like maybe some pictures, pros and cons, maybe the hotel location. And I do it basically because if, let's say, I go back to the city or someone asks me to recommend a hotel in Thailand, I know what to tell them, because otherwise I'd just like simply forget. So here is where I log the actual reservation to a specific hotel, and I do that and don't link the hotel directly to the trip because I wanted to be able to save things like how much did I pay for this exact reservation, what meals did I order, what room view did I have. And if I link like the hotel directly to the trip, then what happens if I stay at the same hotel twice? Which data do I keep? Do I delete the old data? I certainly didn't like that. I like, to record everything. So the solution was to have a separate table for the reservations other than the hotels table. Here's where all the transportation data is kept, like flights, buses, just driving our car. And I have here this formula which I really like. It shows like the path of the trip. So basically, if it's a return trip, I'll fill the travel from, travel to, and return to fields. So you can see here my trip to Istanbul, which was like Alexandria, Istanbul, Alexandria. And if it's a one-way trip, like my trip to Canada, to Calgary, I fill out the travel from and travel to, and because I had a transient, I filled up that too. So you see it shows like Cairo, Toronto, Calgary. And if it's a multi-city trip, like my trip to Luxor and Aswan, South Egypt, we flew from Cairo to Aswan, and from Aswan we took a cruise ship to Luxor and flew back to Cairo from Luxor. So this little circle means that the way from Aswan to Luxor involved like another means of transportation other than this flight. So if this is like an international trip, this could be like you taking the bus or another local flight. So the expenses tracker and itineraries, these tables are like, I strictly use them within the trip, so I'm gonna skip them for now, but you'll see when you get there. Here I have the places that I want to visit or that I've already visited from a specific trip. I would sometimes, especially when planning, save things like the entry fees or the opening hours, but I don't do it religiously, only when I'm like planning. Also, I love taking notes after visiting the place. Sometimes I'd come across a vlog from some place I want to visit, or a Facebook post recommending, I don't know, a restaurant in a nearby city, or, you know, your cousin goes somewhere and tells you have to, you know, visit. So instead of like taking screenshots and saving random Facebook posts that I know I'll eventually forget about them, I save the links in this database so I can make use of them when I'm actually planning my trip. So as you might remember from the city template, you can see in each city all the experiences and recommendations specific to this city. This is where I keep a list of apps that, you know, I need to install before traveling, and I'd usually just uninstall once I get home. These are apps like, you know, not all countries have Uber, so these are the sort of apps that you'd use on a specific country. They might be like a more popular option or a cheaper option. For example, I remember in our honeymoon in Thailand, we used an application called Grab to order taxis. I don't remember whether they had Uber or not, but like Grab was the cheapest. Okay, so this database is just a database of people who you travel with. So you can totally not use it or replace it with a drop-down list, but personally, I already have a database full of people in my life and people I follow. And it's already linked to so many other databases, so it was natural for me to link it to my trips too. Anyway, I like using it, and I also have like people photos as icons in my, you know, my personal version of this template. So you can totally ditch it if you don't want to use it, or if you already have your, you know, version of this database, you can, you know, link yours and ignore this one. Okay, so now that I've gone through almost all the databases, it's time to see what it actually looks like, you know, the actual trip. So I'm gonna use my trip to Istanbul with my husband in 2019 as an example. So here we have the cities we visited, we have our itinerary here. This is just the first day. You can see the full itinerary in this page. You can see the hotels we stayed on, and this here is a view from the reservations table and not the hotels table, as I explained earlier. We also see like the travelers, the places we visited, and here is the places that we actually did visit and not all the attraction in Istanbul or Turkey. Here under the file section, I have a to-do list. These are the things that I usually have to do before each trip, like do the laundry, empty the trash. I also keep things I need to do while I'm on a trip, like things that, you know, some cities are famous for things that I want to buy, or, you know, gifts and souvenirs, stuff like that. And this emergency contact page is something that I print before traveling, and actually print multiple copies of it, keep one in each of my purses and keep with me at all times, because, you know, you don't know, in case my phone dies or something. And finally, after like finishing my itinerary and planning everything, I create a printable itinerary, because during the trip I'm early on my laptop or phone, or using Notion or any other tool, to be honest. So I just love having, you know, a physical copy of my itinerary in hands. And you see, you have like this button that you can like add another day when you're creating it, so you don't waste time. We also have the transportation section displaying all data about the flight, And you also see a nice view of the cost of the trip, which is calculated using data from multiple tables. So there's, everything you log in the expenses tracker, which I'll explain in a second. And, the transportation cost from the transportation table, the hotel reservation cost from the reservation table, everything. And because I keep track of how many people were in a trip, I can calculate how much did it cost me by person, which I don't know, I think it comes in handy if you're the designated trip planner in the family like me. I also have here the apps I used in Turkey, and here the expenses tracker and the currency conversion widget. This first drop-down list will automatically pick up your location and use its currency, so that's cool. That's why it's showing Canadian dollar. When I was in Egypt, this was showing Egyptian pounds. So you add how much did you spend in the local currency of the place you're visiting and the conversion rate, and you see it automatically calculates how much that it worth in your currency. And you can see your expenses by category too. So let me show you how to create a trip from scratch. I'll use the international trip template, and there's also a domestic trip template. The only difference is there's no section for the apps because you're in your own country. It doesn't make sense. You know what to use. And I also don't have the currency conversion because again, your own currency. So I'm first gonna expand the properties here. I'm gonna select the date. And you see how these formulas automatically calculate the duration of the trip and when is the trip. Let me see, I'm gonna add Rome as a city. Imagine I have a reservation here and I'll fill it out randomly. Now I'm also gonna make up a hotel. Of course you can add these first in the accommodation and reservation tables, but the way I usually do it is within the trip. I'm gonna also add an imaginary flight. And me, my husband as travelers. Now I wouldn't fill the visited attractions until I'm on the trip or after I finish the trip. I'd also fill the visa cost if there is any. And now that I've filled all the important properties, I'll just collapse them. We won't need them anymore. You can see here the city displayed and the reservation we made and the flight. So we can start creating an itinerary or maybe fill out the emergency contact page, check out the to-do list. So the only two things in this page that will need manual filtering is the cost. So you'd have in the cost section to filter by the name of the page. Right now it's international trip. And also the app section, you need to filter by the country. These are the only two sections that need manual filtering. All the other sections, as you can see, is automatically filtered. Yeah, so that's how it all comes together, and that's where you're gonna spend like 90% of the time, because everything else is already taken care of. So the last part of this dashboard is the packing list, and I'm telling you, I've been using this for years. Like, I'm pretty sure I had this packing list even before I had the entire dashboard, and even before using Notion, I had like this same exact list in a spreadsheet, because I used to travel a lot. My parents actually lived in another country, and you know, history anyway. So the way I use this is I first like uncheck everything before every new trip. I make sure I have unchecked everything, and then I skim through the list, decide what things that I won't need to pack, and I'd like check those. Sometimes I'd use filters to help me. For example, if I am packing for a beach trip, I just like, you know, select all the stuff that's used for cold weather and say I won't need those. Once I'm done deciding on what I actually need to pack, I go to the unpacked view here, and you know, start packing, and you know, check stuff as I pack them. And if while I'm packing I decide, okay, I won't need this, so I just like mark it as no need, and it will disappear from my face. And as you can see from the menu, you can, you know, go through all the items, maybe add some, remove some, make it yours, basically. Okay, so I try to be as brief as possible, but this is just packed with features and views. I hope it inspires you, even if just like give you one or two ideas to update your own dashboard or create one if you don't already have one. However, if you want the same exact one, I'm giving away free copies to the first 100 people to follow me on Twitter and share this video. So do that, and don't forget to comment on this video with your Twitter handle so I could DM you the promo code. Happy notioning and happy holidays, everyone!